Okay, good evening. So now we have with us something different. We're going on the international flair tonight. So we're going to hear a little bit from someone who speaks, who understands and speaks a little bit Russian. His name is Linden Hoagland. And he's a friend of mine, and I invited him because he has something very interesting that I liked and that I listened to. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So Linden, thank you for being here tonight.
My pleasure.
Okay. So let me know a little bit about you. So are you an American who lived a few years in Russia?
No, actually I've never been there. I got my entire the Russian experience just from majoring in it at BYU and Brigham Young University. And the second of my two master's degrees was in Russian at UCLA.
Oh, so it has nothing to do with being there. Okay.
No, I haven't been there.
So how did you practice the language itself?
Well, it was hard when I was younger, but here in San Francisco I have a chance to practice every day.
Oh, there's a lot of Russian speaking people?
Yes, I have the pleasure of helping older ladies stranded on the Muni, and they don't speak a word of English, and they're always glad to see me coming.
And they speak Russian?
Yeah, they speak nothing but Russian.
Do they have a Russian cultural center here?
Yes, they do. I haven't done anything with it. I have been there a few times and I've talked to them, but I do my own thing.
So what are you, a Russian instructor? Is that it?
I have taught Russian in the past. I was a Russian translator for the FBI.
I see.
That was a number of years ago. That's what brought me to live here in San Francisco originally. And I left that after a couple of years, and I taught for a while at Mount San Antonio College down in Southern California, and now I've done just some specialized LDS church research in Russian.
Okay, do you do maybe interpreting a little bit, or no, live interpreting?
I've never done live interpreting for people talking like they do at the UN or something.
Yeah.
No, I've never done that.
No?
That's hard. That's the elite of training. Well, it's a different thing from what I did.
Okay, so it's more, you prefer the written part more than
I think so. And I have done the other, and during my time with the FBI, which I'm not allowed to go into in detail, I had experience doing a number of things between English and Russian.
Oh, great, great. So what do you think of the Russian language? Why did you like it so much?
I've always had an aptitude for languages, and I lived in Brazil when I was young. And I've kept up with Portuguese pretty much, so I speak it, understand it better. There's none that I really understand and do well with except English and Russian. And why I chose Russian over the others, there were a lot of people learning Spanish and French, and I wanted something different. And it interested me. The culture and the language interested me, and I'm kind of
so you got into it and stayed with it?
Detached, yeah. And I'm kind of a maverick, and I chose something different rather than the usual thing.
What can you say about the Russian that we don't know, or that you think is worth saying?
Well, Russian is believe it or not, it's a cousin language of English.
Oh, really?
Tradition by two Russian saints, Cyril and Methodius, who went there on special mission to Christianize the Russian people.
I see.
And there's that's very oversimplifying it in great detail. And according to tradition, it was Saint Cyril who came up with this. That's not quite the way it was. But the Russian alphabet, the Cyrillic alphabet, is based on some Latin letters and Greek letters, and there are certain sounds that do not occur in the Greek language or the Latin language, what we call palatal sounds. The sounds like ch and sh and zh, those do not occur in Greek, but Russian has them. But those sounds do occur natively as a part of the basic part of the language in Hebrew. So they took certain Hebrew letters, like the Russian symbol, the Russian written symbol that sounds sh and ch. Those are from Hebrew.
I see. Is Russian, I mean, about the people themselves that you see in United States, it seems that they like the safe way of life. They don't like the risk that Americans have. What can you say about that? I mean, about the Russians?
Well, Russians in this country, they've come at different times. They're what we call first wave and second wave, depending on whether they came before World War I or before World War II and so forth. There are a lot of Russians now that just came recently within the last couple of years. And I don't know what generalization I could make about them. They're very interested when they're the ones who live here. You mean Russians who live here? They're very interested in fitting in and very interested in learning English, most of them, and they're interested in the good life that we Americans have. They're deeply interested in audio and stereo equipment and American music and all those type of things. Oh yes.
They want, especially maybe the children.
And the things we think of as so typically Russian, like the Russian costumes and so forth. Modern day Russians, like living in San Francisco or Los Angeles, they don't have any more affinity for those classical old Russian costumes than we do for American colonial things. It's just old-fashioned stuff, and they wouldn't know why we were interested in it.
What can you say about the Russian culture? What do you think?
The Russian culture, well, it's changed quite a bit now that there's been, in the last couple of years, since the downfall of communism. From a linguist point of view, there was the old thing that somehow I was suspect for having learned Russian. They said, what would you, it was rather offensive, maybe always made me bristle. So, oh, you're going to be a communist. My response was, oh, sure, and everybody who learns Spanish is obviously going down to Colombia to become a drug dealer. So I'm kind of short like that. The Russian language has existed for 1,000 years before communism was invented. And it's got one of the most ancient and rich and certainly fascinating cultures of Europe. Okay,
by studying maybe Russian writers, what can you say about them compared to American writers?
Well, somebody has said that there are 3 superlatively great literatures in the world: Greek, English, and Russian.
Not
Somebody
French?
say that.
Not French?
Well, this writer didn't. He just happened to not say French.
Okay.
The Russian literature is just known for being just titanically great and sweeping in its impact and its interest.
Some of their volume are huge.
Oh yeah.
Like War and Peace. Who can have time to read all this?
Oh, that's not very thick compared to what Balzac wrote. Balzac.
Oh yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is
that they wrote. It's a very thick novel in several volumes. There was as far as the great length of War and Peace, Vойна и мир in Russian. Concerning the great length of it, there was another Russian novelist who said about that, and they asked him about War and Peace. His name was Turgenev. He was a co-worker and another author and an associate of Tolstoy, and he said, "That's not a novel, that's an elephant. Это не роман, это слон." War and Peace. It was so big. A lot of them are big. The ones who wrote very long novels were Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. We usually think of them. And the others are, well, there are other very long novels, but most of them are not that long. Like what I'm going to read from later is from a unique novel in verse, Eugene Onegin, they call it. There's an opera sometimes performed in French, which is a novel in verse. And I was going to say a few things about that before I start to read. And it's just very short. It's very, very thin, like that. War and Peace is like that. But it's like that. And Russian poetry is very rich. Pushkin was a poet. Pushkin that I'm going to read from, he's in an oversimplified sort of way, you could say he's the Shakespeare of Russia. He wasn't anywhere near the same time period or anything, but as far as Pushkin, what he is to Russian literature and the influence he had on Russian literature and culture from then on, it's comparable to what Shakespeare was in England, or Goethe was in Germany. And I don't know the French. Who was the great French writer?
Victor Hugo, obviously.
Victor Hugo, oh, like him.
By the way, when you read the Russian mentality, when you read their novels, do you see some traits that we don't see in Americans?
There is what we call the Russian soul. That's a very elusive thing. The Russian soul. Oh, what can I say about that? I think it goes back to the Russian stoicism. The Russians live in a very cold climate, and they become stoical. You see, I'm speaking in generalities and in perhaps stereotypes.
Stoic is
they become
French word.
They've. I think what's involved in the Russian soul is deep passion. I've heard it described as deep Slavic passion.
Really?
And stoicism against the elements and against the cold. And against the cold, I don't know how
Are
that's...
they very romantic people?
Yes, romantic, and given Tatiana, the heroine that I'm going to read about from Yevgeny Onegin, she is characterized by her dreaminess and her detachedness from other, and and possibly her lack of affectionateness. And like, she's not a typical Russian person either. She's just a great Russian heroine. I don't know if you could say Russians are different from other people, really, in a great generalization.
They're just people. I
Yes.
mean, once you read something translated from Russian to English, could you say for sure that's a Russian person who's writing?
From the names and the word, yes.
For the names, but if you
Yes,
didn't know, you could tell?
I don't know if you could or not. There's some writers that are really just Russian to the soul, and they just scream Russian in what they write. There are other writers, there's the writer Kuprin, who was a...
Which writer is the one that does
Kuprin was just he was just a European writer who just happened to be Russian, not very Russian in the things in his subject matter.
But have you heard of that writer who... There was a novel about people who were exchanging love letters. Did you hear about that one? I don't know. I read about it a few years ago, but it was, the person was getting a lot of details, and I thought, oh my gosh, those Russians are so.
I know what you're
you didn't know
referring
one? Okay. Okay. Well, who are you going to read tonight again?
I'm going to read selections from the novel in verse Yevgeny Onegin, Eugene Onegin. It's unique as far as I know. It is a novel, a short novel, but a novel. And it's very romantic and very early 19th century, and it's in verse. The whole thing is a series of sonnets, of 14-line sonnets. And the hero is what we would call nowadays an anti-hero.
Okay.
He's what Pushkin and Yevgeny Onegin introduced to the world what is later known in Russian literature as the lishny человек, the superfluous man, who is just unsure of his own place in society and unfulfilled and just very lacking in spiritual values, as opposed to the heroine. Opposite this anti-hero who was in love with him was Tatiana, who is the quintessential Russian heroine. It starts out telling that she's quite vulnerable and romantic and dreamy and detached, but she's consummately honorable. What comes through is her honor and her virtue. And she, this isn't what I'm going to read, she falls in love with Yevgeny Onegin, this young, just a young dandy of a very non-serious sort of person, and she makes it known that she wants a commitment. She really wants a commitment from him, but he says no, he's not ready for any type of commitment. And the story goes on, some tragic things happen. Yevgeny Onegin kills his best friend.
What happened after? Did they get married after?
No, they don't. He kills his best friend in a quarrel over at a party over Tatiana's sister Olga, and he leaves for a while. He comes back, and here's what happened, how Tatiana shines through. He leaves Russia and he does some traveling. We're talking about rich people, rich landowning people. And he comes back to Russia, and he finds that Tatiana, who was in love with him, has now since married. It's been an arranged marriage to a rich nobleman. And at the end, she's the hostess at a great party, a great ball given at her husband's house in St. Petersburg. And he wants her back. And he comes to, and he wants her back, and after the ball is over, he makes it known that he wants her back. But she will not compromise her virtue or her honor, and I can't help noticing that the great early 19th century Russian poet Pushkin puts into the mouth of Tatiana those famous words so beloved to late 20th century feminists, when she says in effect to him, The door is over there.
Oh.
Have the consummate goodness not to slam it on your way out, bud.
Oh.
What I'm going to read-
Is this novel translated? I'd like to read
yes. Oh, yes. It's translated. In fact, I've been working. I have part of the translation at home. Yes, it's usually translated
I'd like
into
to
verse.
read it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What I'm going to read here is 6 stanzas, just describing the early life of Tatiana. Just describe it. It describes her early personality and her kind of her aloofness from her family and friends. And then it's 2 different days, and it goes on to show what she sees. It goes on to see she wakes up on a winter morning, and it describes the wonderful winter fairyland that she sees outside her window.
Okay.
And Pushkin, the romanticist, is never one bit behind Pushkin, or either behind or ahead of Pushkin, the great describer of nature. And it's a wonderful. We have wonderful descriptions of nature here, and especially winter and.
So you want to read it with the music background?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So we're gonna play the music then, and he's gonna read it as soon as we hear the music.
Okay, can I take a short break? My mouth is very dry.
Okay. So let's take a quick break, and then he's gonna read it with the music. Okay. Okay, everybody, all the camera people, when you.
О, если б мог выразить в звуке всю силу страсти.
He's just gonna get.
Okay, just tell me when. Okay, I'll start now.
Okay, he's starting now.
Итак, она звалась Татьяной.
No? Roll tape.
Okay. Should I go help him find the song? You don't want to get unhooked.
Oh, he lost it?
No, I don't.
He has it?
See if this is the right song.
Well, there's no really wrong song, but I hope you think it will be. Let that one play until it quits. It's almost at the end of that song there. Then cut it off, and then we'll start. At the end of this song, this is too rollicksome of a song, too rollicking.
You know how to sing too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe.
This is the end of it. Just cut it off for a minute at the end of this, and then I'll start, then cut it on, put it on again. The beginning of the next song. There's some good Russian folk song right there. Is that the end of the song? Okay. I'm gonna. That's still the same song. Let it go to the end of that. This is from a poem by the Russian poet Nekrasov, which was in turn a folk song. Okay. I'll give you a cut sign with my hand when the song's over. He went to the very beginning of this song. Ни красотой сестры своей, ни свежестью ее румяной не привлекла бы. Итак, она звалась Татьяной. Ни красотой сестры своей, ни свежестью ее румяной не привлекла бы она Атея. Дика, печально, молчаливо, как лань лесная, боязливо. Она в семье своей родной казалась девочкой чужой. Она ласкаться не умела к отцу, ни к матери своей. Дитя сама в толпе детей играть и прыгать не хотела. И часто целый день одна сидела молча у окна. Задумчивость ее подруга от самых колыбельных дней. Течение сельского досуга мечтаний украшало ее. Ее изнежные пальцы не знали видов. Склоняясь на пяльцы, узором шелковым она не оживляла полотна. Когда же няня собирала для Ольги на широкий луг всех маленьких ее подруг, она в горелке не играла. Ей скучен был и звонкий смех, и шум ветреных ветров. Она любила на балконе предупреждать зари восход. Когда на бледном небосклоне звезд исчезает хоровод, и тихо с края земли светлеет, и если утро ветер веет, и всходит постепенно день. Зимой, когда ночная тень полмиром долю обладает, и долю в праздной тишине при отуманенной луне восток ленивый почивает, в привычный час пробуждена, вставала при свечах она. В тот год осенняя погода стояла долго на дворе, зимы ждала природа. Снег выпал только в январе на третий год. Проснувшись рано, в окно увидела Татьяна поутру побелевший двор, картины, кровли и забор. На стеклах легкие узоры, деревья в зимнем серебре, сороки елок на дворе и мягко усланные горы. Зимы блистательным ковром, все ярко, все бело кругом. Зима, Татьяна, русская душою, сама не зная почему, с ее холодною красою любила русскую зиму. На солнце иней день морозный, сани и зарею поздной сияние розовых снегов, двух мещинских вечеров. По старе неторжество дали в их доме эти вечера. Служанки со всего двора про барышни своих гадали и сулили каждый год военный поход. Грозна ночь, все небо ясно, светил небесный течет тихо, так согласно. Татьяна на широкий двор в открытом платьице
звуки
на месте зеркало находит. Но в темном зеркале одна тоже печальная луна. Татьяна поясок шелковый сняла, раздела из постели два. Такие звездные день. А под подушкой пуховой девичье зеркало лежит. Тихо все. Татьяна спит.
So this was then Linden Hoagland. It was beautiful. Thank you so much. I don't understand the Russian language, but I can feel by the sound of your voice that it's very
It
nice.
is. It's a series of sonnets, and it has a rhyme scheme. When you read poetry, you either have to go for the jingle, the da 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 da, like you're reading a nursery rhyme, or you can read it like prose and subdue the jingle and just make it a chime.
Okay.
You can do it between a jingle and a chime. I tried to make it not sound too jingly, but I tried to preserve the chime of it.
Great. So I really enjoyed it, and that's why I asked you
enjoyed
to come.
doing it.
Thank you very much. So I hope I'll be able to read it if you can bring it to me.
I will.
Okay. Thank you very much. So this was Linden Hoagland, someone who has studied Russian poetry and literature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on the French American TV, and thank you very much again for being here.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Stay because they're going to do the roll.
Okay.